Hi, and welcome to Rush Hour. I'm your host, Austin Rush. I got my trusty co-host here, Drew the Commissioner Carter.
Thank you, Austin. I'm happy to be here.
All right, let's get started. We're going to start off today with the Masters. We've got a little bit of Jordan Spieth action here.
Yeah, Jordan Spieth, I mean, what a performance. Unbelievable wire-to-wire performance. He's only the 5th champ ever to lead the tournament from Thursday to Sunday. It's pretty crazy. He's only 21 years old, too.
Absolutely. What do you think about him being compared to the next Tiger?
I'm not sure about that. I think we should probably pump the brakes. I think if you look back at the last decade of golf, you could find a lot of guys that have been hailed as the next Tiger Woods, including Rory McIlroy, who's currently the world #1.
What about if, sorry to interrupt you there, but
that's going to happen a lot.
I read a stat there that Tiger went 11 majors without winning another one after his first one. So if Jordan wins, say 1 or 2, maybe even 3 majors in his next 11, would you say he is the next Tiger, or even possibly better than Tiger at that age?
No, I don't think so. I think it's still a little premature to call him the next Tiger. Okay. I mean, we have to remember who we're talking about here. We're talking about Tiger Woods, the guy who pretty much transcended golf. He's the golf equivalent of Michael Jordan. So I consider him the most dominant golfer ever, and I don't want to throw out guys, Jordan Spieth included, to be the next Tiger, because I don't think we're going to see that maybe ever.
What do you think about the final day matchup of Rory McIlroy, ranked 1st in the world, and then Tiger Woods, who has slipped all the way down the board to 111th?
Yeah, that was cool. I like to see that. I like to see kind of the passing of the torch, if you will, especially if you've seen that new commercial where Rory watches Tiger as a kid.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's pretty much the embodiment of real life, what happens in that commercial. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, I still like Rory as the favorite in the majors to come over Spieth, even though Spieth did dominate the Masters. Absolutely. I like Rory. And I think I have something here. Since this current ranking system was introduced in 1986, this is the first time that both the top 2 players in the world are under the age of 25. So I think we got some great golf, a nice rivalry of Rory versus Spieth coming up, and I'm hoping we get some nice Sunday showdowns in the majors to come.
Looking forward to it. What about Tiger? You saw him absolutely nail that root.
Oh,
if he doesn't hit that root, does he have a better round on Sunday?
I think probably. I think it was probably more mental than physical at that point. I mean, he was already way back, and it was a decent way through his round. I don't think he really had a realistic chance anymore, kind of adding injury to insult, if you will. But
he didn't have an awful day. I mean, he had that eagle. He got out of trouble there with a couple of bogeys. Could have doubled, but he didn't.
Yeah, Tiger impressed me this weekend, I'll say that. I expected him to miss the cut, because I think he's mentally shot, and he doesn't have what it takes to win another major. But I was impressed that he was able to be in one of those final groups on Sunday, because I didn't expect it.
Do you think Tiger will win one more major?
I hope so. I'll always root for that dominant guy, because I like to see history. And I think Tiger has received a lot of crap, and it's well-deserved, but I would like to see him return to that glory, because I think golf is just better when he's Tiger.
Nothing like seeing a Tiger fist pump
on
a Sunday
when he's wearing that red shirt.
Absolutely.
Oh, man. Nothing better than that. Also, thing I want to say, let's give some respect to Justin Rose and Phil Mickelson. They tied for 2nd at 14 under. And I got this here, 14 under would have tied the lead or won the tournament in all but 9 of the 79 Masters tournaments in history. So, I mean, I think it sucks when you go up against a guy who goes 18 under and just dominates from start to finish. So,
Spieth, I mean, he left off right where he was at the end of last year's tournament, where Bubba just outed him right at the end there. Yeah. But the kid just took off from there, from day one. I mean, he had the record after every day, was it?
I believe so, yeah, for sure, after the first 2 and the first 3. And then he had that 19 under from holes 15 to 18, and he just choked at the end.
If I was a 21-year-old about to win the Masters, I would probably miss that putt too.
Yes, I would too. And I don't think he's too upset about not getting the record. He still tied it, and he still won by 3 or 4 strokes. Got his green jacket.
What did he make? $11 million last year, I believe?
Yeah, he made a lot of money. And then the purse for the Masters
it was $9 million.
$9 million, yep. So that dude pretty much has it going on. He's got a cool sponsorship with Under Armour.
Absolutely.
Something interesting is, so pretty much Tiger Woods made Nike Golf. If it weren't for Tiger, Nike Golf probably wouldn't exist today. Do you think Jordan Spieth has a chance to do the same thing with Under Armour? Because Under Armour doesn't really have any golfers other than him.
Yeah, this is true. Under Armour, they're in the baseball with, Bryce Harper, and then
basketball, they got Steph.
Basketball, and then also with
Cam.
Football.
Yeah, Cam and football.
Newton, I believe Tom Brady even maybe.
If they got Spieth.
If Jordan Spieth continues down the route that he's headed on right now, I believe you will see a lot more players wearing Under Armour. And I saw it was very interesting to me to see that he was completely sponsored by Under Armour and not like Ping or your Nikes.
Yeah.
So I think it's new. I myself don't enjoy wearing Under Armour stuff.
Really?
But I think it would be definitely good for Under Armour if Spieth continues down the route that he's going.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably buy an Under Armour golf shirt or two after watching him. He makes those shirts look good. I want to be like Jordan.
Do you have a sleeper pick this year? I know mine.
For what, golf?
Yeah, just someone you expect to do pretty well, top 5 finishes.
Who's yours?
I'm going to go with Ricky Fowler. He really impressed me last year. Finished top 5 in all 4 majors last year. Tied for second in the Masters last year. I was pulling for him to win.
Yeah, he did really well in the majors last year. You think he's going to get over the hump this year? I mean, he finished like top 5, like what, in all 4 maybe?
But with Rory out there and Jordan playing the way he is, I don't know. I would like to see him win one.
I would as well. Get some good American
He's been
blood.
on the tour for a while. So.
Yeah. For me, I'll go with Dustin Johnson.
Okay.
He's always had a lot of distance off the tee. He's always had, the physical aspects necessary to be an elite golfer. It's always been more mental with him, I think. He took a little bit of a leave of absence last year, if you remember that. It looks like he's back and he's really hot right now, ready to tear it up. I like him to win maybe 1 or 2 majors this year.
Absolutely.
All right, so transition over to the NBA.
Yeah, let's talk about a little bit NBA here.
Yeah. That's our
MVP.
It's our favorite league, right?
Gotta love it.
All right, yeah, MVP. We got a lot of candidates. This is probably the best year that I can remember as far as a real debate, because it's pretty much been LeBron every year, other than one Durant.
And it still is LeBron this year.
Yeah,
to be honest.
He's in it, but we got some fresh blood in it this year, specifically James Harden and Steph Curry. What do you think about that race?
I like Steph Curry over James Harden.
All right, why is that?
I'm not a fan of. Well, let's get this straight. They're both scoring machines. They both score at will. But I think if I'm gonna have someone to lead my team in a battle at the end of the day, it's gonna be Steph Curry, because James Harden, his defense is abysmal. He's a one-sided player.
He's better this year.
He is better this year, but I want to see a little bit more. And
I
MVP,
don't think Steph is any better on the defensive end. I'll say that.
Granted, but I don't know. What do you believe?
Well, I don't know if I'm even ready to make a pick yet. There are so many good guys. I mean, you got Harden and Curry. They're the 2 front runners right now, and one of them is going to win it for real. But if you look down the list, Russell Westbrook, Anthony Davis, LeBron, and CP3, I think all those guys have legit cases for it. If I had to choose between Harden and Curry right now, I guess I'll take Curry. It's the more popular pick.
And it's got to be what he's done with his team.
Yeah, this team, it's hard to not give a Warriors player the MVP, considering how historically good they've been this year. Like, they have been absolutely dominant. We'll get to that a little bit later when we talk about the playoffs.
Absolutely.
But I mean, Curry, he's the coal that makes their engine go, I guess. I mean, he's the catalyst. When he's not on the floor, their offense just drops off. It's pretty much abysmal without him. And when he's on the floor, they're top 2 in the league in offense. And if you look at his numbers since the All-Star break, in my view, he's the best shooter of all time.
Steph Curry.
Already, yeah. He's the best shooter I have ever seen. If you look at, since the All-Star break, he's making 4.4 threes per game. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Yes.
He's already broken his own single-season three-pointers made record that he set last year, broke it this year. I mean, I just love to watch the guy. I think if we're going to look back on this season, we're going to remember it as a Steph Curry season, not the James Harden season. I think that's a good way to look at it.
And in that debate, you asked me out of those 2 players who I would go with, but my actual MVP I'm going to go with is Westbrook, Russell Westbrook.
I know you love Russ.
I do, but the only thing that I think hinges his candidacy is that he didn't play the entire season. Like LeBron, how he took those 2 weeks off to his cramps and whatnot. Yeah. But he's averaging 28 points. He's a triple-double machine. What does he have, 11 this year?
He's got 11.
Also, he's going to win the scoring title now.
I think With Russ, though, I think you need to beware of those counting stats, like the points and the assists, or even if you look at the turnovers, too, he is way up there.
His turnovers are a factor.
His usage rate, which is basically the number of his team's possessions that end with him taking the shot or turning it over, is 38.1%, which is the third highest of all time. And it's just destroying everyone this year. It's pretty much unheard of in the NBA in 2015. So I think, yeah, Russ has put that team on his back, and he's had to carry them. He's had to have that 38% usage rate. But I think if you put another guy in that situation, say you put Harden or Curry in there, maybe they'll rely on their teammates a little bit more, maybe get them a little bit more involved, because right now Russ, pretty much you can tell he doesn't trust his teammates to do anything. That's why
he doesn't have Kevin Durant or Serge Ibaka.
His teammates are bad right now, so that's one of the reasons why I think he's a good candidate. But
if Kevin Durant doesn't go down with the injury he had, do you think Russ has the season he does?
I don't think so, not even close, because his usage rate would be below 30%, and as I said, right now it's 38.1. So his stats would not be even close to the same. He wouldn't be in the running for MVP. I mean, you could say this about a lot of guys on teams with other good players, but I don't know if the Russ we're seeing right now is the real Russ that we should believe in because he finally has the team to himself, or if it's the Russ that has been forced into this situation, so he has to put up these stats because there's no one else on that team to do that.
So you're trying to say you think KD could be holding him back from that?
Holding him back from putting up stats like this, but right now he might be holding the team back from winning games.
Okay, yep.
Without KD, they're obviously a much worse team.
Yeah, and the other night he had 52, and I think that was actually exactly 50% of the team's points.
Yeah, he had 54 on 43 shot attempts, which is a lot of shots.
It is a lot of shots.
So going back to Harden and Curry, one of the reasons why Harden is getting so much buzz is because that team has been decimated around him. Dwight's been out for probably half the season. Beverly has been out for a long time.
He's out for the season.
Yeah. So he's been out for a while. Pretty much it's been Harden against the world for that team, and he absolutely carries that offense. So I don't know if you want to penalize Steph for having good teammates, because Steph has carried the Warriors from good to transcendent, whereas Harden has carried the Rockets from probably pretty bad to good and being in that playoff picture. So it's kind of an ideological thing, whichever you think is more valuable to the team. But a stat I heard, James Harden in games where he scores fewer than 15 points, the Rockets are 3-5. For the Warriors, when Curry scores fewer than 15 points, they're 8-1. So that just kind of shows you how important Harden is to his team. But at the same time, Curry is so important to the Warriors. It's so close. It's such a toss-up. That's why I don't want to make a call. But if I had to, I'd take Curry. And then I'm thinking Anthony Davis and CP3 aren't getting enough recognition for the seasons they're having. Anthony Davis, no one has really considered him an MVP candidate.
It's just because of all the time he's missed.
It's because, he's missed some time, and because the Pelicans, no one expected them to make the playoffs. But the Pelicans are tied with the Thunder right now, and I don't understand why Westbrook is getting MVP buzz, but Davis isn't. They've missed about the same amount of time, and Davis has been, in my view, a lot better if you look at it. If you look at him as a two-way player, he's a lot better on the defensive end than Russ is.
No, he's a beast down low on both sides.
Yeah, for sure. And then Davis is leading the league in player efficiency rating, 30.87. That's going to be the 11th best all time, behind guys named LeBron, Wilt, and Jordan. Only guys who have ever done better than that are LeBron, Wilt, and Jordan. And he's 22 years old. This guy's already putting up historic numbers, and I'm just so excited to see what he does. I hope he stays healthy because he could be one of the greats.
Yeah, it seems like every game he plays in down the stretch here, he's heading back to the locker room with some sort of injury. He got elbowed in the neck inadvertently the other night. Like,
he gets
come
nicked
on,
up.
You can't make this stuff up.
He gets nicked up pretty easily. So that's one of the main arguments against him, but still, I like him as an MVP candidate. One stat, I mentioned that 30.87 PER, which is leading the league. He's only 27th in usage rate in the NBA, which is pretty incredible considering that most of the guys who are tops in PER are also tops in usage because the formulas correlate a lot. So being a high usage player will always help your PER. That's one of the reasons Russ's PER is so high. But Davis has been so efficient this season. on the offensive end and then contributing on the defensive end, he's just been amazing. And I think you can make an argument that he's been the best player in the league this year. Whether the difference between most valuable and best player is kind of cloudy, but if you're going best player, I think the award might have to go to Davis.
No, absolutely. I know a couple of guys who were taking Anthony Davis to be the MVP before the season even started, and honestly, that's a great pick
And then
if he stays healthy.
I want to mention CP3. I think he should be in the top 5. He's pretty much carried the Clippers all season, just like Harden has, and Curry a little bit too.
They needed him more than ever after that Blake Griffin
for sure.
injury.
Blake's been out for a little under half the season. CP3 is leading the league in assist to turnover ratio by a wide margin. He's pretty much doing his thing like he does every year, but people at this point, Chris Paul is just like death and taxes him having a great season. So people want to see him succeed in the playoffs. But also CP3 is a really underrated defender. If you look at stats like field goal percentage against, he's one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. And so he contributes so much on the offensive and defensive end that I think he should really be up there in the MVP running, and I don't think people are treating him like he is.
The Los Angeles Clippers now have they are a lock for the 3rd seed. And over that stretch when Blake Griffin was down with his injury, a lot of guys on ESPN were kind of doubting them because their schedule over that stretch was very difficult, and I believe they were like 8-1 at one point in that stretch.
They were just fine, and that shows why CP3 is so important to them.
What about LeBron? I mean, you got to have him in there, but
LeBron,
he's in there every year.
You can't discount him. I think part of me this season wants to just say, forget LeBron. We have so many other good guys. Can we just give it to someone else for once?
It's refreshing to see.
Yeah, for sure. It's a little voter fatigue. You see that. You saw that back in 1993 when Barkley won the MVP with Jordan. Everyone was just sick of voting for Jordan, so they gave it to Barkley. That's something similar to what we're seeing right now. You
could just give it to the Atlanta Hawks starting 5.
Yeah, you could do that. The whole starting 5 won Player of the Month in January, so that was cool to see.
That is a big loss, though, with Thabo Cephalosha breaking his leg in that
He's a good perimeter defender, but I think they'll be fine. They've been okay with Bazemore and Carroll on the wing, and Korver, obviously. And rotation's shortened in the playoffs anyway, so I don't think they would be needing him that much.
His defense is
he's a good defender. He's a good defender. If he could figure out his 3-point shot, which he lost during his final years with the Thunder, if he could shoot again and be a good 3-and-D player like he once was, he could be a valuable piece on a playoff team, but I just don't think that's what he is anymore. I think the Hawks will be fine.
Let's move on to Coach of the Year here.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
You got a couple of picks that you have.
Yeah, I think top 2 contenders have got to be Steve Kerr and Mike Budenholzer. Their teams are obviously leading their conferences by a wide margin.
Yep.
Steve Kerr comes in, takes over from Mark Jackson, and immediately turns the Warriors from a good playoff team, middle-of-the-road playoff team, and he turns them into a historically great team. So I think you got to put some value in that. I really like what he's been doing on defense. They've been switching a lot on pick and rolls with guys like Draymond Green, Andre Iguodala, Sean Livingston. He just allows them. He's basically unleashed the Warriors on the rest of the league, whereas Mark Jackson had kind of put them in a cage, you know. Steve Kerr.
He was very high on his whole I have the best backcourt in the league with Steph Curry.
So Steve Kerr is pretty much they're not playing iso ball anymore. They're playing beautiful team flowing offense. And that's one of the reasons I think they're going to succeed in the playoffs.
And the guys, they like him. The whole deal when Mark Jackson was fired, he had a whole kind of falling out with half of his team. But these guys would take a bullet for Steve Kerr, it sounds like.
Yeah, I think he was kind of put in a tough position because everyone in that locker room, especially Steph Curry, they loved Mark Jackson. They only said positive things about him. And so he was charged with coming in, taking over a 50-win team and making them better and getting those guys to like him after he replaced the guy they loved. And he's just done an amazing job. And I'm shocked that he didn't get a coaching job earlier because he's clearly pretty good at it.
I don't think, was he searching for one or?
I think, yeah, people have been talking about Kerr as a coach for at least 5 years, maybe even a decade. But he's just been broadcasting on TNT. I do miss him in the broadcast booths. He was a nice, fresh voice instead of Reggie Miller saying stupid stuff, as he always does.
Gotta love Reggie.
All right, and then Budenholzer, former Spurs assistant, has pretty much copied what the Spurs do in Atlanta. He has
proven it works.
Yeah, it definitely works. And taking that team, which doesn't really have a superstar per se, and making them the #1 seed in the East by a wide margin is very impressive. So they're really fun to watch, and I really like what Budenholzer has done there.
I believe it's 10 games over the second seed Cavs.
Yeah. It's up there. So the Hawks have been amazing this season, and Budenholzer is the biggest reason why, I think.
Brad Stevens.
Yeah. Brad Stevens. If you look at the Celtics roster, it is ugly, to say the least. And he has them, I know the East is bad, but he has them hovering around 500, and he has them probably in the playoffs. Actually, they clinched.
Yes, they clinched last night, the 7th seed.
So they're in the 7th seed.
Third time in franchise history the Boston Celtics have clinched a playoff berth under 500.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool. Pretty much shows you that the East is
just abysmal.
Yeah, the East is bad. But still, Stevens deserves a lot of credit for taking that team to where they are now.
Second-year coach out of Butler.
Yeah, I like him a lot. He's going to be a name to watch in the future because he's young. He's a young guy. And then got to mention Pop. Pop is still probably the best, and if we were doing best coach, it would be Pop every year.
Oh, he would win year after year.
But it's the coach of the year, so I'm going to give it to – I'm actually going to go with Budenholzer because I think he's had less to work with than Kerr, and he has done more with less, I guess. But Kerr's been amazing. Who do you like?
I like Budenholzer. Just the whole getting his Hawks to play as a team. You know, the starting 5 was such a big story. They had that 18-game winning streak there in the middle of the season. This team is phenomenal. I'm taking Hawks Cavs in the Eastern Conference. I'm going to take Cavs in 7.
Oh, 7?
To go to the finals.
All right, hold off on that. We got to finish up these awards. Let's move over to Defensive Player of the Year. You got, I think, 3 really good candidates this year. Draymond Green from the Warriors, Rudy Gobert from the Jazz, and Kawhi Leonard from the Spurs. I would take one of Gobert or Kawhi if they had played more games. Gobert hasn't been injured, but he didn't start for the first half of the season, and then Kawhi missed like 15 games or so. But over the past couple months, Kawhi Leonard has been the best defender in the league. I don't really think it's that close. He just mauls dudes on the perimeter. It is fun to watch.
Absolutely.
And then Gobert, when Enes Kanter was traded and Gobert got that starting role, the Jazz just transformed into a defensive juggernaut. They've actually been playing really well in the Western Conference recently. And Gobert is an incredible rim protector.
Him and Wiggins were going back and forth
for sure.
when they were here. That was fun to watch.
Yeah, so I like Gobert a lot, and he's really young too, so he'll develop a lot in the future. But I'm going to take Draymond Green just because he's been there all season. He's the staple of that Warriors defense, which is first in the league. And
he has transformed into the third best player on that team.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, I'd agree with that. And then the way he can defend every position, 1 through 5. You know, a lot of people say this guy defends 1 through 5, but it's not true for a lot of players. Draymond Green actually does it. It's amazing to watch.
And if the Golden State Warriors are not able to retain Draymond Green at the end of the season, because I do believe he's a free agent.
Yeah, he is.
How big of a loss is that for the Golden State Warriors?
It's going to be big time. I mean, they have a lot of depth, so Iguodala will probably slide into the starting lineup, or David Lee. But he does so much for that team's chemistry and that team's identity. That'd be just, I think, crippling to the Warriors. They wouldn't be this good. They'd probably still be a playoff team, but without Draymond Green, they wouldn't be as dominant, for sure.
Let's go on to probably our favorite Rookie of the Year. That's a lock.
We're both pretty biased in this one. Wolves fans, give us Wiggins, and let's move on.
Even if we weren't biased, this kid has had an absolutely unbelievable year, averaging 17 points a game as a rookie. Played in 80 games, or all 80. He will be playing in all 82 tonight against the Thunder, and that is unprecedented for a rookie to do.
We are excited about his future in Minnesota. Sixth Man of the Year, I'm giving it to Lou Williams from Toronto. He, more than most bench players in the league, he carries their offense when he's on the floor. And they started hot, they've tailed off a little bit here recently, but I still like Lou Williams as Sixth Man of the Year.
Okay.
And then Most Improved, I mentioned Rudy Gobert earlier. I'll take him to win Most Improved because he has been incredible this season.
Jimmy Butler, I see you have down here.
Yeah.
He's a great pick. He did have that sprained elbow in the middle. Another name that I'm going to go with, but Shabazz Muhammad. He was tearing it up before he had his season-ending surgery.
I think if he played the whole season, he'd definitely be,
definitely be a candidate. Flip Saunders has found his trust in Shabazz Muhammad, and I believe if he stays here, he's going to be a big-time asset for this rebuilding and transforming Wolves team.
Yeah, I definitely
very
like
young roster.
I definitely like Shabazz as maybe a sixth man, kind of a microwave guy off the bench, comes in, heats up, and gets the crowd involved, and yeah, he's got a bright future.
I mean, he's electric. He can do it on both sides of the ball. He's been his off-season regimen with Anthony Bennett, who I wish had a better season. It was absolutely insane. I believe I read a stat that said 70% of the people that enter into this workout that they quit after the first day.
Wow.
And it was a 1-month program. They were out in, I believe, LA. Anthony Bennett and Shabazz Muhammad both got ripped, and they were ready for the season.
Yeah, love to see it.
So hopefully they can come back healthy. Actually, I believe Anthony Bennett has come back, and he's just kind of
Don't talk to me about Anthony Bennett.
All right, well, let's move on then.
All right, yeah.
A little bit. Got playoff basketball coming up here real quick.
So this is basically a 3-team race for the NBA championship. If you look at Vegas odds, the Cavs are 2-1 to win it all. The Warriors are 2-1 to win it all as well. And the Spurs are 3-1. Next best team is Atlanta, 18-1. So that just kind of shows you that no one really likes anyone except those 3 teams. And then in the conference finals, you mentioned you like Cavs versus Hawks there.
I do, yes.
I'll take that as well. And then I'll take Warriors versus Spurs in the Western Finals.
I'm going to agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take the Spurs in 7 for the Western Conference Finals.
All right. I like the Warriors to win that series. I know you and I disagree on this one, but the big argument against the Warriors and for the Spurs is the experience.
Absolutely. Yep.
Obviously, the Spurs are here. They've been doing this since Duncan got into the league. But with the case of the Warriors, I don't think experience matters because they are so good and they've been so dominant this season. Their net rating, which is basically margin of victory, is double digits, which basically if you have a net rating of double digits over the history of the NBA, you win the championship. It's happened like 7 times. I think 6 of the 7 times the team with the net rating of double digits has won the NBA championship. And I like the Warriors to do that as well. I'll take them to win it all.
It's just the Spurs, they break down these teams with their prestige passing.
It's beautiful.
I mean, that's how they beat the Heat last year in 5.
They shredded the Heat last year.
That was kind of fun to watch. But
yeah, I mean, I love the Spurs, obviously. I have them in the Western Conference Finals, but I just think the Warriors, it's their year, man.
No, I mean, when you win 60-plus games in a season, it's hard not to go with that team to win it all.
Yeah, I love to watch that team. I think it's amazing that they're top 2 in the league in offense and defense. That's pretty much unprecedented, and they're just too good for the Spurs, I think. And if you want to get into matchups, you can look at Kawhi Leonard. It's pretty much a given that he'll take away one perimeter score for the other team. If they plant him on Steph, the Warriors' offense this year I don't think would allow him to take away Steph completely. In previous years when they were doing so much isolation, maybe, but now with all their motion and all their screens, I don't think Steph can be taken away by one guy. But even if he is, he can just spot up in the corner. Kawhi will have to stick to him like glue, and it'll just be 4-on-4 and great spacing for the Warriors for the rest of their team. So I think the matchups are okay for the Warriors. Like I said, they've been so good this year, it's hard for me to pick against them.
Talking about experience again, we both went with the Cavs in the Eastern Conference Finals. LeBron James, 2 rings. The rest of the team, not too familiar with the playoffs. We got Kevin Love down there. Those two aren't the best of friends right now. Kyrie Irving still has yet to see his first playoff game.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Is that going to hinder the Cavs' opportunity at a championship or even making the finals?
Just like I think with the Warriors, I don't think experience matters in this case. The East is very bad. The Hawks are their only real competition, and they have tailed off in the second half of the season too. And the Cavs just have too much offensive firepower, I think. And they're really clicking right now. They have been pretty much since the All-Star break.
Have you ever met LeBron James in the postseason?
Exactly. When you're trying to pick an Eastern Conference team to make the finals, just pick LeBron's.
He's hungry. I mean, he wants those rings. So we got it. Taking it, coming down to the wire here for the 8th seed in the Western Conference, who do you like, OKC or New Orleans?
I'll take OKC to make it just because of the matchups tonight. The Pelicans are playing the Spurs, and the Spurs have to win to get that 2 seed, and I think they want it. And the Thunder are playing our team, the Wolves, who are just brutal.
I believe they had 6 healthy players at the end of Monday night's game.
So I think OKC should be able to get an easy win tonight, and the Pelicans will really struggle against the Spurs because the Spurs have won 11 in a row or something.
Yes, I believe it's 11. If the Pelicans do pull off the upset against the Spurs, OKC would not make it because the Pelicans do have the tiebreaker.
And they have the tiebreaker because of that 40-foot three that Anthony Davis hit, that double pump over 2 guys. That was incredible. I love
that. Was something else.
That'll be a good memory from this season for me. So yeah, I think I do want to see the Pelicans make it though, because I want to see Davis in the playoffs, and I think they'd have a better chance against Golden State than the Thunder would.
That's interesting. I think I'm going to go with the Pelicans I'm going to go with OKC just because of the matchups, but if New Orleans were to pull off the upset and make the playoffs, I'm only going to give them 1 win against Golden State.
I would probably.
Whereas I would give OKC maybe 2, just because OKC can be a rough place to play in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's a good point.
They do have a good crowd, and so does Golden State, though. They have one. The Oracle Arena is probably one of the scariest places to play.
I would argue that Golden State has the best home court advantage in the league.
Absolutely.
So I don't think OKC could come in and win a game there. Now, to be fair, I don't think the Pelicans would either. But
no.
OKC is so heavily predicated on one guy. I think the Warriors can just swallow up Russ because their defense is so good. The Pelicans actually have some perimeter threats in Tyreek, Evans, and Drew Holiday to go along with, obviously, Anthony Davis.
But the thing with the Pelicans is they have to get Drew Holiday or Tyreek Evans, they have to get Anthony Davis the ball, whereas Russ, he has the ball, and he can create these situations where they can score. So that's why I am going to give OKC that maybe 2 games.
All right, if they make it, we'll put a little money on that.
All right, sounds good to me.
Okay, what do you want to do? Transition over to the NHL now?
Yeah, let's get a little bit of NHL in here. We got Kyle Kinnaman here with us as our NHL and Minnesota Wild insider. Thanks for joining us, Kyle.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right, so I'm not really a big NHL guy, so I'll ask the first question, then I'll shut up. Kyle, what do you think the Wild's realistic chances are to win the Stanley Cup this year?
I honestly think the Wild will win the Stanley Cup.
All right.
If not, get to the finals. They're not waiting for any more key pieces. We have, Zach Parise, Ryan Suter, Koivu, Vanek. He got better towards the end of the year.
Everyone was hating on Vanek.
I mean, he got 20 goals again. It's the 10th time in his career.
No, absolutely. You cannot doubt it. He, in my mind, is the best passer on the team, and that is huge when it comes to playoffs. This guy makes and creates opportunities that you just don't see, and he slides it in there, and they do capitalize off it a lot of the times. The Minnesota Wild, they have the best record since the All-Star break in the NHL, ranked #1 in the West, and a lot of that is due to our guardian angel, Devin Dubnyk. A lot of them like to call.
Yeah, Devin Dubnyk went in his 38 starts, he went 27-8-2 with 1.73 goals against average and a .93 save percentage with 5 shutouts.
So I know Dubnyk started 38 games in a row, right?
Yes.
And that was recent.
Yes.
So do you think there's a chance that he's going to be worn out by the time the playoffs start?
No.
Okay.
He didn't play for Phoenix as much.
He was the backup, but he was the better goaltender in Phoenix. They traded away their better one.
Okay.
I think the Wild, since they have the key pieces, they are not waiting for any more young defensemen. You have Scandella, Spurgeon, Brodin, and Dumbo, who's just emerged this year. And Jordan Leopold is his defensive pair tomorrow night, and he's kind of just taking him under his wing. I mean, Matt Dumba's 20.
Yeah.
20-year-old defenseman with a rocket of a shot. And there's just those 5 guys, or 4 guys, those guys are just, they're developing much more. Like Spurgeon and Scandella have been together for 4 years. Since the AHL, they were always a pair, so their chemistry is just unbelievable. And we're just not waiting for them to get better. We have everything, and we finally have a steady goaltender. I think that this could be the year.
Knock on wood that he stays healthy.
Knowing the Wild, it won't.
But a key for the playoffs is being able to play on the road, and it doesn't seem like that is going to be a problem for the Minnesota Wild this year. 12 straight, tying an NHL record for road wins coming down the season. They did lose that final one in St. Louis.
Yeah, no one really tried in that game.
No,
but,
yeah. But that is huge. 12 straight games down the final stretch of the season to really lock up that final wild card spot for us.
Yeah, I mean, you look at last year, and that was the big downfall against Colorado. It was just whoever played at home won that until Game 7 when the Wild came through in overtime. So same thing was pretty much true in the Chicago series. Just we couldn't win on the road. And I think that now that we've been able to show that we can do that and we feel confident about on the road, we shouldn't have an issue.
What about penalty kill? We have the top PK in the league, and I know in playoff time they're kind of more lenient with the whistle blowing.
You know, the St. Louis ranked 4th in the league with a 23% or 22% power play, and so that could be a big deal in the playoffs. I think special teams will just dominate if they do call penalties. The Wild ranked 27th with a 15% power play. So
yeah, the power play is not too hot for the boys.
They did work on it all practice yesterday, a lot of it, giving the penalty killers good practice and the power play, because we finally have those key players to where we're not putting Koivu on both unless we have to. We're not putting Parise out on the penalty kill and power play. Yep. We have designated guys for both, so they're not doing double shifts.
And the power play is Parise, Vanek.
The top power play, it is Parise, Koivu, and Vanek. Vanek sits in the middle, and then Suter on the right D and Spurgeon on the, or not Spurgeon, Palmaville on the left for the one-timer with his right-handed shot. Matt Dumba did take that up when Palmaville moved to the middle. Him and Vanek kind of rotate out.
Yep.
Depends. The second one is Nino, I believe, Chris Stewart, Granlund, Dumba, and Brodin. So Dumba pretty much does what Palmaville does on the point with that rocket.
These guys, they have depth on all lines, and Mike Yao, he kind of likes to, stuff isn't going their way during the games. He does like to switch it up, but it just seems like this team chemistry is second to none as of right now.
Yeah, the depth is incredible, which is why I think the Wild have a chance to go really far. I mean, you look at last year, injuries was a huge thing. Right now we have Ryan Carter, Matt Cook, Sean Bergenheim, and Eric Holla and Schrader all fighting for one spot on the team, and they're all healthy. So, I mean, you go down the stretch, injuries are going to happen, especially against the Blues. The Blues play a very rugged, tough game, and they're huge. So, injuries are going to happen, especially against those third and fourth line guys. So if you have 5 guys to go into that left wing spot, if need be, or any of the spots on that fourth line, you should be in good shape.
For sure.
In your mind, the season-saving trade was for Dubnyk, but other than Dubnyk, what was your favorite trade?
Chris Stewart.
Chris Stewart.
I think Chris Stewart's spirit, I retweet it every single time, but the Wild post video of the Stewie sprint.
Yeah.
Runs on the hall, puts a smile on my face every time. His energy in the locker room is just so good for that group. Like, you look at Koivu, he's a very serious captain. He's like Taves. It's not the Patrick Kane that gets all excited. It's just they're serious down to it. Parise and Suter are both quiet guys. You get the Chris Stewart in there that gets everyone going, that can really change a locker room.
You got to like the play of Matt Cook, too, even though it's a little bit questionable sometimes. He does get in there. He's one of the grinders, and so is Chris Stewart. Yes,
when he's healthy. Unfortunately, Matt Cook's season this year, it's his worst season ever because he only played, 20 games? He's been injured both times. So if he can stay healthy in the playoffs, I mean, he's our best penalty killer. You put him and Brodziak out there, they're not going to score.
Key to winning the series against St. Louis?
Speed and special teams.
Special teams?
We don't have the size of the Blues, but we do have a lot of size. I mean, Coyle and Nino they do not get enough credit for how big they are and their physical play. Mike Yeo tells Coyle, go be the biggest guy on the ice every single shift. Go make your presence felt, and he's really bought into that. And he wants to make sure they know that he's on the ice.
It's got to make you feel good when these guys get down by 2 goals like they were on that road trip against Nashville. Come back, win a game. Come back, win the game. Come back, win the game. It's
unbelievable.
I don't know, this team, the stuff that they have shown, the resiliency after All-Star break.
Yep.
They just got it in gear and something clicked. I mean, you had Mike Yeo, who was cursing at him. He sprinted off the ice, breaking his stick.
And then Jeremy Roenick goes on NBC Sports Network, says, I think we need a change in there. He's telling the people watching that, you know, Mike Yeo probably should be fired. They need to change. The players aren't responding, even when he had that incredible meltdown.
Yeah.
But then something changed. We got Devin Dubnyk.
It's really been a streaky season, hasn't it?
That's just wild. They go down every single month in or every single year in January.
Yeah, let's hope they're hot in the playoffs.
They had a seven-game losing streak at one point. I believe when Mike Yeo went off the ice screaming, that was the low point.
Kind of lost all hope then.
Absolutely.
That was after
even I had lost hope at that point.
That might have been after the 7-2 loss to Pittsburgh. That was just, Yeo said in the press conference, that was the low point of their season. That's when everyone woke up.
Let's go over some first-round picks here in the West. I'm going to take Minnesota over St. Louis in 6.
I agree.
I'm going to go with.
I think we're all going to take that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go with Chicago over Nashville in 6. And kind of giving Nashville the benefit of the doubt here. They've just, I believe they lost 5 straight.
They're not playing well, but I think Pekka Rinne turned something on, and Chicago will not be able to score on them.
I think so.
I have Nashville in 7 over Chicago.
Even after all Chicago's playoff success and their pedigree.
Kane is back, too.
They're on the downhill. I think Pekka Rinne is a better goalie than Corey Crawford.
That's fair. For sure.
Nashville has arguably the best defensive core in the league. Them or the Rangers. I mean, you can't beat Shea Weber. Seth Jones is on their third line. You got Ellis, Yossi, Cody Franson, who they traded for. Like, you can't beat their defensive core. If you have your 3rd overall pick, I think Seth Jones was, on your 3rd line defense when he'd be a top pair with anywhere, you have a better defense than the Chicago Blackhawks, even though they have a very good one themselves.
Ideally, you would like to see Nashville do Minnesota's dirty work in the first round.
Yes,
so we
I do
don't
not
have to play Chicago once again.
I do not want to play Chicago.
Yeah.
They are
their kryptonite.
Yep.
Let's go with the Ducks over Winnipeg.
Give me Winnipeg.
I'm picking Winnipeg in 7.
Winnipeg.
I don't think the Ducks will take one game in the MTS Center.
No.
Wow.
That's
that
bold.
is the
Jets are hot right now.
I'm just taking,
arena.
To be honest here, I absolutely hate Winnipeg.
I know.
I would love a shot at them to play them. I just don't think it's going to happen.
I do. I think Anaheim will not win a game in the MTS Center. They have 15,000 seats, and the way it's set up is you can look up from the ice and see the eyes of the people on the upper deck, like you're right there. And with that noise and that atmosphere, I mean, tickets are starting price is $700 for playoff tickets.
That's crazy.
So I think they won't take a game there, and all Winnipeg has to do is win one in Anaheim.
And they got a hot goalie too, right?
They have a tandem. Pavlich is so-so, and Hutchinson's so-so. They both have their streaks. Right now, Pavlich is turning around.
Just shut us out.
Yeah, he's playing very well right now. I like Winnipeg to win that series.
I'm going to take Vancouver over Calgary.
I picked Calgary in 7.
I got Vancouver in 7.
I don't like Vancouver.
I got Calgary in 7 just because I don't like Vancouver.
Calgary, the way Calgary plays is kind of like Toronto, and it hasn't caught up to them yet, where they get outshot every game, but their shot percentage is so high that when they shoot, it goes in. They led the league in third period comebacks. So they're not afraid to be down 2-0, 3-1 in the third period, then they'll come back.
Okay. Moving on
to the East.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the Canadiens over Ottawa in 7.
I have it in 5.
I can see why. I can see why, because it's Ottawa, but their stretch down there, what was it?
22. Hammond went 22-1-2.
The Hamburglar.
That's Dubnyk-esque right there.
He's done well, but I think the Cinderella story ends. I think Montreal, with Carey Price, he's an MVP candidate, Vezina Trophy probably. What did Carey Price said? Carey Price led the league in goals against average of a 1.96 over all of his games, led the league in save percentage with a .933 and 44 wins. And then he also had second in the NHL for shutouts with 9.
Wow. Dude's a beast.
You know, the Ottawa has Mark Stone, could be Rookie of the Year. I'm not so sure. I mean, he had 7 goals in the last 6 games to really give them into the playoffs.
Not going to give it to Johnny Hockey? Calgary?
I think Johnny Hockey probably gets it, or Shane Monahan, but I still think the Canadiens, I have them going to the finals, so I think the Canadiens are better than they were last year now that Price is healthy, and I think they can make it out.
All right.
I'm going to go with the Lightning over the Red Wings. That's 24 straight playoff appearances for the Red Wings.
I got Lightning over Red Wings in 7, though. I think Red Wings will give them a run for their money.
Rangers over Pittsburgh. I'm going to take New York in 5.
I originally picked Pittsburgh just because I wanted to see them upset, but I changed it to the Rangers in 6.
I'm taking Rangers in 6.
I mean, they're
as
the
well.
President Trophy winners.
If I know anything about hockey, I know the Rangers are pretty good this year.
111
Pittsburgh,
points, I believe.
just squeaked in. I mean, but the thing is, they got Malkin and Crosby in the playoffs.
You got that.
You got two of the best players in the world on your team.
How about the Bruins not making it? First time since 06. Just fired their GM today. Yeah,
I don't understand that. I mean, first time since 07, really, and you fire your GM, and you won the President's Trophy.
Here's the thing with that: if they had won one more game, he probably wouldn't be fired.
Exactly.
So
it was a make or break right there.
Yeah.
I mean, they did have to trade away players, but that was cap issues.
Yeah, for sure. And then one more series.
I'm finishing off with the Islanders over Washington.
I originally had that too, but I just changed it to Washington over Islanders. Halak's been playing awful. Islanders have just not. They've been like Pittsburgh. Squeaked into the playoffs pretty much. Not as bad of a streak, but they're just not playing like Washington. Washington has Nicholas Backstrom, who led the league in assists, and Ovi, who led the league in goals.
Yeah.
That's hard to beat. Yeah.
Washington's probably trending up, whereas the Islanders are probably trending down.
Yep.
I take the Islanders just because I like them. And
I do too.
It's their last season in that arena.
Exactly.
And I like to see a good Cinderella
You got to
story
cheer for the hometown boy, Kyle Okaposo.
Oh, yeah, for sure. All right, moving on to the second
Former
round.
Gopher. I'm going to go with Minnesota over Chicago.
Me too.
I had them over Nashville. So
Same.
Yeah. And then I will take the Ducks over my Vancouver pick.
I have Winnipeg over Calgary, and
Me
I have
too.
the Wild and Winnipeg in the Western Conference Finals.
Me too, and then I have the Wild winning that. I'm riding the Winnipeg train.
That's going to be a great rivalry for years to come.
I think so.
Those
It
two
hasn't
teams just hate
developed
each
yet.
other.
The media portrays it as this big thing just because how close we are.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
But it's not there yet.
There's been signs.
There's been signs,
They
but it's
get
nothing like
chippy.
us and the Avs. Us and the Avs, we hate each other.
Yeah,
In the East, I picked Montreal or Tampa Bay,
me too.
Got that one.
and Rangers over Washington.
I picked Islanders
I got
over
Rangers over the Islanders.
I picked
Islanders
Islanders
over Rangers.
just because I like them. I like Johnny T.
I do too. I love the Islanders.
I just
but
like that story, man.
Yeah.
And then I got Islanders beating the Canadians.
You're the Islanders in the
Wow.
Stanley Cup Final.
Yes,
I
I
have
do.
the Montreal Canadiens and the Minnesota Wild.
Okay.
Yep, that's what I got.
And I got the Wild.
Actually, no, I'm sorry. I have the New York Rangers and the Minnesota Wild.
That's what a lot of people have.
Yeah.
But I have the Wild beating the Canadiens with 28 goals in the series.
I have 28 goals too as well.
I got Wild over Islanders with 29 goals.
I think New York, they're just a team to be reckoned with, and they want that cup from last year.
They are a better team,
LA
which
came
is
out
the
of nowhere
question.
with a 4-1.
Yeah.
4-1 in the series. I don't know.
They're better than they were last year, but I just think Carey Price is going to do it. New York does have the tandem of Cam Talbot and Lundqvist. One of them will be traded. I'm assuming the King. His run might be done. Still at trade value, he's only 33. He's the King, but Cam Talbot seems to be the future, considering everyone thought their season was, they weren't going to end up the first President's Trophy as soon as Lundqvist went down. So I still think that the Canadians, PK Subban, Pacioretty should be healthy by then. Everything
Definitely a good team.
seems better for them.
I think it's about time Minnesota team deserves a parade in downtown.
Oh, there's
I've never
nothing I
seen
want to
one.
see more.
I've never seen one in my life.
Not in our lifetime.
Yeah. I think this might be the year, though.
I do.
If not this year, hopefully next year. Can't say too much for the Twins, 1-6 record right now, but
Hey, speaking of the Twins, why don't we move over to the MLB?
Let's
Kyle,
do
why
it.
don't you stick around and
All
talk
right,
some
sounds
MLB?
good. Speaking of the Twins with that record, good transition real quick.
Just terrible.
I don't think they're going to do well this year, but next year, the year after, once Buxton and Snow come up, we'll be good.
Vargas, another year under his belt.
Vargas, give him that. We need pitchers, and I just think that Molitor saying that he expects to make the playoffs this year gave so many fans so much expectations. You could have just said, we plan to not have 90 losses, and that would have been completely fine.
Definitely a successful season. If we
You get 87 losses, that's all right. It's less than
for
90.
Sure. We can stop talking about the Twins now.
thank you.
That's enough.
They make me sad. Talking about the league as a whole, I think biggest story right now has got to be the Royals. They're 7-0, playing the Twins today, actually. And a lot of people thought the Royals would regress from last year. They had that magical World Series run. But they're pretty much proving everyone wrong and kind of carrying over that magic from last year in the playoffs.
Yeah, everything seems to show that the Royals are legit. It's not that Cinderella story. It's just, they seem to be proven. Wow.
The Royals are, I'm still deciding between the Royals or Boston for my World Series pick, but we'll get to that later. I like Boston.
I do too.
They're probably might be riding a little bit of a bandwagon with Boston in the World Series this year, but I like their chances. I like their offseason moves with Sandoval. Don't really get why he left San Francisco for $5 million more, saying he was disrespected, but I'm not Pablo Sandoval, so.
Looks like we'll never know. So yeah, and the Tigers, I believe, are also still undefeated. I know they were 6-0.
I don't see the Tigers winning the World Series anytime soon. I made a bet with my friend a couple years ago when they got Prince Fielder. I said they will not win a World Series by the time I graduate high school.
It's looking pretty good, right?
If they were to win a World Series, they would have done it by now with that roster.
Maybe their roster's gotten worse.
No, exactly.
For sure.
So it's like, I don't see them winning one in the next 4 years.
The only thing I'll say about that is if Verlander captures his old form, but I don't believe that's going to happen because he's been a shell of himself for 3 years now.
He's got to get over his most recent injury too, with that strain in his arm.
Yeah, so if Verlander becomes old Verlander, then maybe. But right now, despite those two undefeated teams in the division, I'm taking the Indians to win the AL Central.
Really?
I'm drinking the Indians Kool-Aid this year. I think they got an MVP candidate in Michael Brantley. Pitching is obviously strong with reigning Cy Young winner Corey Kluber. Deep roster, and I just like them a lot this year, and I like them as a good sort of sleeper pick to end their playoff drought, potentially end the World Series drought too.
I'm going to take the Royals in the AL Central.
I agree.
All right. So we differ a little bit on that, but what about the other divisions? I have the Red Sox winning the East.
Yep, same here. That could go both ways with Baltimore too, though.
Oh yeah,
and
Baltimore's the first.
Yep, and Toronto.
And then I got the Mariners winning the West.
Ooh.
I like the Mariners.
I did too.
You know, you and
best
I.
pitch in the game.
Yeah, we're going to be similar with our picks here. I'm going to take the Mariners as well.
Wild card.
Cano, right? They still have Cano.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
They got Cano, they got Seager.
All 300 million of them.
And they just signed Nelson Cruz this offseason, so if he can provide a power bat like he did last year for Baltimore, I think that's going to be a huge boon for them. And then the wild cards, I have Angels and Tigers. Rush, what do you got?
Yep, I'm going to go with Angels and Tigers as well. I like, you got Mike Trout, most likely best player in baseball at such a young age.
Yeah.
And then, the Tigers, they're going to win the wild card, but they're not going to do much once they make the postseason.
And then moving over to the National League, I have the Nationals, Cardinals, and Dodgers winning their divisions, with the Marlins and Pirates getting the wild card spots.
I'd like to see the Nationals make a bit of a comeback. They've been a little bit disappointing this year. I'm actually going to take the Pirates over the Cardinals, and I'm going to take you again with the Dodgers.
Do you have the Cardinals getting a wild card spot?
Yes, I give the wild card spot to the Cardinals then.
Yeah, they do every year.
And then also the Marlins. I like that pick for the wild card.
I'm liking the Marlins this year.
With Stanton.
Their outfield is one of the best in the MLB. And then moving on to the playoffs, I mean, we're obviously looking a lot into the future, but I have the Mariners beating the Angels in the first round, and then the Indians beating the Red Sox in the first round. Then I got Seattle beating Cleveland in the ALCS to go to the World Series.
My whole deal with the Dodgers in the playoffs is I need our Cy Young winner over here, Mr. Clayton Kershaw, to actually pitch a game in the postseason.
He's fine in the playoffs, dude. It's happened like once or twice.
I don't know.
He's the best pitcher in the game. I trust him this year.
Couldn't take care of it last year or the year before, so.
I know about last year and the year before, but I'm putting my faith in the best pitcher in the league.
To go back real quick, did you not pick the Padres?
I don't have them in the playoffs.
Really?
No. I know they're kind of trendy.
They did make a lot of moves.
They did.
They're kind of trendy, but they would be a good fantasy team, not a real life team. They
probably a year or two.
Their outfield is going to be putrid defensively, and their infield has no pop in the lineup. So they made a lot of big money acquisitions, but it doesn't really fit. They don't have a leadoff hitter. Will Myers is going to hit leadoff this year. I just don't like how that team fits together.
I gotcha.
I mean, it's good. It's good for the fans though, because they have
get Matt Kemp.
Yeah, they've been pretty much dormant for a long time. You don't really think of the Padres at all when you
when I think of baseball, I never think of the Padres.
Yeah, so it's good for the fans, but I just don't think this is the year for them to make the playoffs.
World Series picks, boys?
Mariners over Pirates.
Kyle?
Dodgers, Red Sox. That's out of nowhere.
Boring.
I'll pick the Red Sox.
Too boring.
I'm going to go with KC.
All
I'm
right.
going to go with KC.
Who do you like out of the NL? Just pick the Cardinals. They're probably going to make it.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to have to do. I'm going to have to
Yeah.
take St. Louis.
Yeah.
KC and St. Louis.
Yeah.
Battle for Missouri.
That'd be a fun one. That'd be a really fun one. All right.
Well,
we hit on every sport.
Yep. We got everything in there. A couple of last-minute things here. We got Aaron Hernandez sentenced to life in prison without parole today.
It's life.
Good.
I just thought he was guilty. I didn't know what his...
First-degree murder, sentenced to life in prison. And kind of interesting fact, kicking the man while he's down, his prison will be a mile and a half away from Gillette Stadium. So
yeah,
he will be able to hear the uproar.
Yeah.
Tyus Jones, hometown guy from Apple Valley, has declared for the NBA draft today. In my opinion, I think he should stay at least one more year, but
I disagree. I think this is the perfect time for him to come out.
I just think one more year under K will really get this kid going.
His draft stock will never be higher than it is right now. Never.
We'll see. Anything else for you guys?
That's it.
I think that's pretty much it.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in to Rush Hour. Drew the Commish Carter, Kyle Kinnaman, our NHL insider. See you till next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.